Now that we have decided to go for a BOP with the IMF, does that mean that the E-Levy gets
off the table?
Off the table?
So two things. Whenever you introduce a revenue measure, it takes a while for it to hit its optimal level. More so with the E-Levy, where right from day one, you acknowledge that you have loopholes that need to be plugged from about the 1st of July. I think that was a clear announcement that was made right from the very beginning. So you were not expecting that it was going to ramp up everything that was due in the shortest possible time. Number two, E-Levy has been heavily bastardized right from the very beginning. So a lot of people are finding ways of also evading it. You put all of those together, and though on paper you are confident that this is a good instrument, like Professor Adai said, to mobilize the domestic resources, you put all of that together. And the reality is that you are not, in these first 2 months, getting as much as you desire. You're going to have to give it room to get to optimal level. You're going to have to plug some of the loopholes with the GRA has started working on so that you can get the full value of what you are looking for. But you cannot wait that until you have that done, you are closing all other windows, because there are pressures and expectations that are building. We have obligations down the line, and we need to prepare for it. Treasury managers will tell you that if you are, let's say, due to retire a bond or retire a payment on a particular day, you don't wait for that day before you start mobilizing resources to go pay. You start building the necessary buffers and reserves so that by the time it's due, you're able to pay. We have a lot of external debt obligations which have escalated because of the depreciation of the cedi. Some of them are in large single bullets, and you cannot say that while you are waiting for E-Levy to hit optimal, you won't take any other options available. By the way, at the same time, the international capital markets option, which is part of our program, is working. We've currently put $1 billion before Parliament to approve and accept, so that we're able to build up those reserves, those buffers, so that we are not found wanting by the time some of our obligations are due.
But 2 points there. Yeah. So the fact that tax policy takes a while to get to optimal level is known to everybody.
True.
Which is why it was either misguided or irresponsible to pitch the E-Levy against the IMF. Because the point you just made is not a new discovery. We all know that when you come up with a tax policy, it will take a while for it to get to optimal. We've done only 2 or 3 months. So to go around the country telling people that if you pay E-Levy, you won't go to IMF, and try and appeal to our pride as a people, and then come back and say, well, we didn't get what we said we'll get from E-Levy, therefore we are going to IMF, either questions the judgment of the person or his honesty.
So go back. Why did those, may I say, town hall meetings even become escalated at a point? Because 4 months after this theory was supposed to come into practice, it was still hanging because of some of the scenarios that were happening in Parliament. You remember that in this country, you put fiscal policy and economic policy and monetary policy before Parliament by November. And you'd expect it to be passed by November, December. Why? So that it can begin to pick up and hit optimal levels by the time you are getting to the end of first quarter, etc. E-Levy was a scenario in which you put it before Parliament in November. It took about 4 months down the line for it to be passed, and then for you to now get the, because it's now been passed and you are sure it's going to happen, for you to now start putting in place the systems, and then you still had the loopholes that you projected that you will fix by the 1st of July. So it's been the exception, not the norm. Number two, even after it was passed and it is gradually making its way up the ladder, the window available to us, which would have ordinarily ensured that we don't find ourselves here, literally has been closed, if not just limited. And I'm talking about the capital markets window, which would have given you an opportunity to have some liquidity and ensure, therefore, that you will still be able to rely on your domestic, strategy, has been closed. And it's been closed for 2 reasons. One, we've been downgraded. 2, the kind of obstruction we are facing when it comes to getting fiscal policy passed or tax policy or revenue policy through is unprecedented. Even today, the $1 billion part of the domestic program, which we put in the budget, put before Parliament, got approval for, that is before Parliament today. We are being told that it will not be approved. If that is not approved, even your domestic answers, you forget about IMF, even your domestic answers to on your own go to the capital markets and raise $1 billion to shore up currency, avoid further depreciation of the cedi, meet your international obligations, is significantly hampered.